Okay, hey y'all. I finally ended up getting a little desk-mounted phone stand. So I'm going to be taking a crack at some longhand content, and I figured a good way to start would be to go over my pre-release that I ended up attending today for OP16. I apologize in advance for any little hiccups throughout this process. I'm not going to be editing this, but figure I'd just give y'all a raw take. So I did end up winning. I ended up going back to the store that I usually went to in my college town. It was a little bit of a drive, but I figured I'd take the day and go and see some folks. There ended up being 15 people. It was a 16-person event. I got first place. We played 3 rounds, and I'll go over each of my rounds shortly. It would have been a 4-person or a 4-round tournament, but on the last round, me and the other guy basically went around and were like, are people okay with just calling it here and locking the bracket? And then I had first place given my matchups. But out of my 6 packs, I got pretty lucky. I ended up pulling both the buggy alt leader, which is actually pretty cool. I wasn't entirely convinced by this style leader, but I think I really like it. It's got actually a good amount of texturing. We had 2 of these pulled today. Obviously didn't use that, but it was helpful. This was the hit of the day for me. It's no secret, a drop teach is absolutely disgusting, and he is vile in the pre-release meta. He was really hard to deal with, but I'll go over that in just a second. And then actually Sakazuki here ended up kind of carrying one of my games. So those were my 3 biggest hits. Buggy didn't end up in the deck, but both Saka and Teach obviously made the cut. I'm not great at deck building. I kind of just went and kind of called back to my old Hearthstone days and went with the Unga Bunga Boulder Fist Ogre strategy of give me cards that can let me survive long enough to play big boys and then hit you in the face with the big boys. Didn't have a lot of thought behind it other than that, and then I did try my best to include cards that usually are leader locked or faction locked. Those tend to be pretty powerful, such as the bird and the dog from Sky Island in the last set, which I think ended up actually getting banned from the pre-release. But it was pretty good overall. I think I ended up running 12 2Ks. Ended up running a bunch of just utility 1Ks and kind of low drop cards. Tried to toss a bunch of blockers in here. I had the Benfim and the promo Luffy in here just to get a little bit of rest to action. I tried to include a couple triggers, a little bit of ramp. Pile's getting away from me, but overall this deck performed very well. I never actually found Burgess, although I did have him played against me a couple times, and I had 2 Moji and Kabadjis here as draw engines, and that was mostly to try and dig out Teach. Game 1, I ended up, and by the way, if anyone from my store is listening to this, you know who you are. We had a lot of great games today. Wouldn't have had it any other way. But game 1, I felt a little disgusting. I ended up rolled and chose second. I had 2 drop Zoro, which I dropped on curve. I think turn 2, I either dropped something low or just smacked him in the face. And I dropped a Mihawk on curve to kill whatever he had played. And then I dropped, or the Mihawk drew me into my Teach, and I dropped Teach on curve, which was foul. And then my top deck was Sakazuki for the next turn, and I used this to go on ahead and debuff his 7-drop Zoro. The effect is nice on Zoro, but mostly it was scary for me just because it was a big body. Dropped it down to 3K, hit it with 7 from my leader, and then just started swinging out. He did a wonderful job of keeping pressure on me. He ended up dropping, I think, an 8-drop Yamato, the unblockable version. So this one. He ended up dropping a whole bunch of blockers and really kept me on my toes, but I just had too much pressure off of this. I kept his board clear, and this alone was enough to kind of seal the game from that point on. Excuse me. Game 2 was the closest game that I had of the day. My starting hand had a 7-drop Zoro, Teach both of these events, which I'll cover in just a second, and then it had a 5-drop Odin blocker, I believe. I actually won the dice roll, and I chose to go first just because I thought my curve was good, but that was a mistake. I think I definitely should have gotten second. I was behind on board almost the entire game. I didn't get a great opportunity to play my Teach until kind of further into the game. He still felt good, don't get me wrong, but it was not as impactful in the first game. But my saving grace was this card, Gum Gum Twin Jet Pistol. I had 2 of these in my opening hand, and I mistook them for a plus 3,000 counter. I left the Dawn up, I was getting ready to play one, and then I actually bothered to read what it did. And I remembered why I included it in the deck in the first place. And this was where the game turned around, because I was able to drop one of these. I had Teach and Zoro on the field, swung in with 10 double attack at life. She had a pretty big board built up, and I would not have lived another turn or two. But obviously she couldn't have known I had a second one in hand, but she went on ahead and countered out. She dropped down to 1 card in hand, and then I was able to basically just swing Teach into her Vista, I believe it was. And then I was able to put some Dawn on Zoro and swing into her Zoro. Excuse me. That kind of sealed the deal. Kept her board clear, and then she was able to play a blocker. But I had another one of these, so swung 10 at life, gave her, I think at that point she had 4 cards in hand because she didn't use her draw. And then just punched home with Teach, and that kind of sealed the game. So I was pretty excited at this point because I realized I had the pack in sight. I don't really care about this promo, but it's cool to win it. I'll showcase that a little later. And I also do have some packs here that I'm going to open at the end of the video, so make sure to stick around. But game 3, I had the worst opening hand I could have asked for. Didn't have an early drop. I ended up top decking. I was made to go first. Top deck Mr. 2 on 5 Dawn, and that was my only play. But the real turnaround was we both were able to keep each other in check on the big drops, but I just think I had more in my deck. I ended up seeing this 7-drop Borsellino, which allowed me to basically just swing every turn and then get a big blocker, which in this format is really good. She almost killed it turn 1 that he was on the field by swinging in with her. She ended up getting a Rush Croc, or Mihawk, excuse me. That was close. I was able to counter out of it just barely, and then I killed the Mihawk, kept the Borsellino alive, and then was able to chain it into, a couple turns later I had a Magellan. I don't believe Teach ever made an appearance, but then I was able to play a Doflamingo, and between those and I think a Zoro that I already had on the field, that was game. So overall, a really solid set of games. I do also have a booster box that I'm going to be opening in just a moment in the next video. I'll get to those packs in just a second. I'm not quite done. I think it's a 2-hitter. I saw a bunch of SPs get opened. I saw SP Katakuri, SP Kuma, and I believe someone opened a Robin too, but I'm not sure if that was from the box that they got today. So overall, really happy with how that went, obviously. But that brings us to the exciting part of the video, which is the promo packs. My store is a little on the smaller side that I went to today. They got their allocation for OP16, but they actually had some extra packs lying around from previous events that didn't get distributed. They weren't like stiffing us up pricing, they just had extras because we don't have enough people. So I have a whole bunch of random stuff that I can open here. This Luffy card is currently charting on eBay for about $300. I think that's completely silly. I don't think it's worth that. But I'm debating if I can find someone to buy this. I might go on ahead and sell it in favor of blinging out another Riftbound deck. So we shall see how that goes. All right, y'all are gonna love this because I am absolutely awful at opening packs. You'll see me ducking off screen. Okay. I don't love how promos in One Piece are usually not foiled. But free drop Zoro, hard to complain about that. I think, I'm trying to think, I don't remember what other options there are in Welcome Pack 2. I think I got one of these when it came out. I remember these are either Blocker Zoro, Nami, or the one drop Yellow Luffy. And then obviously these are stamps cards. I think Zoro might be the best one in the Welcome Pack Volume 2. I'm not 100% sure. But I have a few more packs to open here. I'm already seeing what that one is. I don't know if it's picking it up on the camera, but that would be a 4-drop Zoro. Very solid card. Glad they decided to reprint it through promo packs. Obviously, it's still a little bit pricey, but the PRB rares being like $10-20 and above is a little rough. So get on them for actually getting out and reprinting some of that stuff. I'm gonna save that other one for last, I think. But I think I'm not terribly happy with where the One Piece meta is right now. I'm really enjoying Riftbound. It feels like there's a little more. Oh, it's got nice foiling. It feels like there's a little more you can actually do if you're behind in the game. Oh, this was the Dash pack. So I remember I got the it's like the Aladdin or something for Jinbei. I ended up buying that when it first came out. The Dash packs are a fun little idea, just giving foil to cards that don't usually have it. But yeah, I was playing around on the sim. Seeing double. Sure. And I'm not sure there's a deck I actually really want to make this set. I have been an Emu main for a while. I know, scum of the earth. But I don't think he's terribly viable in this set, and I also am not really looking forward to dropping a whole bunch of money on Teach, which would be my second option. I don't have the Borsas. I don't have Rogers or anything for Ace either, so I might just end up sitting it out. You might have heard the struggle that just went into opening that pack. These things are actually really tough to get open. Not entirely sure why. I'm starting to see why people use scissors, but yeah, it is what it is. I don't know what possessed them to start giving support for Impel down. What else is fun? I think if there's a deck I build, it might be Yamato or it might be Sengoku, just because I enjoy the Admirals as characters, but haven't 100% decided. I got time on my hands now, but I won't for long, so we'll see about that. Shanks 4-drop, Yamato event. That's nice. I think this is actually seeing play in Yamato, so that's a nice pull. All right, but last pack that we got to open. Trying to hide it from myself while I'm getting to the point where I can show it on camera. Okay, there we go. We got the Luffy. I think they actually changed the art for this one, because this, I don't remember the 1-drop looking like this. But overall, very good set of cards there. I will not be opening the Luffy promo pack. I'm going to hang on to this until I fully decide what to do. Teach, I'm also going to hang on to. I think it's going to depend what I end up pulling from that box. And then Buggy, I do not want. He's cool, but I'm not a Buggy enjoyer, sorry. So I might end up trading him away to my buddy for a couple of Riftbound over numbers. But with that, I will leave y'all to it. I am going to figure out how to get this uploaded, and I'm also going to go on ahead and record the booster box opening. So I'll catch you on the next one.